Praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well and labor in the word and doctrine. Yeah, the Lord willing, this should be a quick hit, real quick. We're going into this, 1 Kings 11, and that's where you get the explains about Solomon. The kingdom split with the kingdom of Israel, the kingdom of Judah, which later became, is known. It's not later became, it is known as the northern kingdom, that being the kingdom of Israel, because that's where they dwelled in our land, in the land of the Israelites, and the southern kingdom being that kingdom of Judah. No, just excuse me. Right, I'm back. Salakia. I had to sneeze. Yeah. Anyway, 1 Kings 11 and 14. And the Lord Yahawah stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the king's seed in Edom. Right, so we don't really need to break that down. You should all be familiar with that name there. Of course, goes back to Esau. Should tell you that. I think it's 36 and 1 Genesis. That tells you that verbatim. Genesis 36 and 1. Now these are the generations of Esau, which is Edom. Sorry, now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Sorry, I got a bit distracted. Look, that thing there. Alright, let's get to the crux of the matter, as they say. First Samuel. 1 Kings 11, starting at verse 14. It said, And the Lord Yahawah stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite, he was of the king's seed in Edom. Verse 15. For it came to pass, when David was in Edom, and Joab the captain of the host was gone up to bury the slain, after he had smitten every male in Edom. For 6 months did Joab remain there with all Israel, until he had cut off every male in Edom. Okay, and then verse 17, just to hammer the point, that Hadad fled, he and certain Edomites, his father's servants, with him, to go into Egypt, Hadad being yet a little child. That's a clause there. You can't say, see, he smit every, so they don't exist anymore. You can't use that. It don't apply. Now let's see some translation comparisons, because it is pretty clear what's being said here. And then we'll get into the Hebrew Lord with them. Let's try to find the NLT. Years before, David had defeated Edom, meaning what the inhabitants. Because when you read about Edom, he is talking about the land, but just as Jerusalem, there was a people. Well, specifically Jerusalem is a people before a place. Edom is a land, but it's also a people. But that's the Lord's chosen people. That's why the emphasis is always put on a we. All right. Joab, his commander, had stayed to bury some of the Israelite soldiers who had died in battle. While there, they killed every male in Edom. Is that love vocab? Part 2. Because I made a video, is that love vocab? Talking about when David set up garrisons in Edom. Against people. It's the word nakah. It says to strike, smite, hit, beat, slay, kill, to be stricken or smitten. To be stricken or smitten, to smite, strike, beat, scourge, clap, applaud, give a thrust. To smite, kill, slay, man or beast. To smite, attack and destroy, conquer, subjugate, ravage. To smite, chastise, send judgment upon, punish, destroy. To be smitten, to receive a blow, to be wounded, to be beaten, to be fatally smitten, be killed, be slain, to be attacked and captured, to be smitten with disease, to be blighted of plants. Now when it's a definition long like that, I usually don't do that, but just to really emphasize that point, and yet again. Right, then I won't read all them, but more time it says smite, 348 times, slay 92, and then you can read the rest. Okay, so what is that? Is that love vocab? In fact, let's get that one about. Second Samuel 8 and 14. And he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom put he garrisons, and all they of Edom became David's servants. And the Lord Yahawah preserved David whithersoever he went. Okay, so when it says servants, were they like butlers? They're scrubbed up nicely. David's hooked them up with a nice little suit on, so on and so forth, and then they just carry on about their business like, oh, we love you, David. Yeah, when it says servant, you'll see that word is ibad, all right, and that can be used of servants, Israelite servants of Israelites that get treated in a certain way. But you didn't get that, man. Right, ibad here, slave, servant, slave, servant, manservant, subject, servant, worshippers of God. Yeah, because what's it said? Who are thou? Who are you? Is it Romans the 14th chapter? Yeah, who are you that judgeth another man's servant? I believe in the 4th verse. It says servants, worshippers of God. So what is that talking about? Another man's servant there is the servant of Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. Yeah, we can't. Anyway, it says servant in special sense as prophets, Levites, etc. Servant of Israel. Servant as form of address between equals. Now, yeah, when David was around there wasn't a service of address as in equals, or however that was phrased. In Romans 14 and 4, who art thou that judgest another man's servant? To his own master he standeth or falleth. Yea, he should be holding up, for Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi is able to make him stand. So in the context here, it's talking about the Lord's servant. Now, isn't a servant of the Lord. Yeah, he was made a slave. Yeah, so is that love vocab part 2? Giving all praises to Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, bahasham rakach wadash. Shalom.